You have been ignoring and throwing away gold mines for far too long. You and I are going to talk about the units that I would start making 4-star plus 10 merges of right now. So I've talked about it in the past, many other YouTubers have talked about it in the past. A lot of people like to collect these resources they're getting, and instead of upgrading a unit into 5 stars and doing merges in that fashion, a lot of people like to make 4-star units that are plus 10 merged. And usually whenever we talk about this, it is always specifically at plus 10 merge, because when it comes down to it, there are a lot of good candidates out there that you could just grab that are going to be easy to invest in, yet just super powerful, guys. It's quite incredible what you could do with these types of units. So let's talk real quick before I get into the meat of this about how I pick my 4-star merged units. That way, in case you don't have these units readily available, you could go ahead and take a look at them and figure out whether there's somebody you would like to do this with. These criteria are not in any real order. However, the first one that I will point out is they have to be available. Everything that I'm ready to talk about is available in the 3 and the 4-star pool, and it is nice that the 3 and 4-star pool is so big now. So there's a lot of variety in there, a lot you could choose from, and really I'm just scraping the top of this when it comes down to it. There's so much potential here. Another thing is they have to have a viable 4-star weapon. Now, there's some units in the 3 and 4-star pool that you can upgrade to 5 stars, and they have a new fancy weapon, and that's great. I am super glad for most of those units anyway. But when it comes down to it, I tend to either ignore them unless I don't like their 5-star special weapon, and I do look at units that have something that sort of is representative of what they're going to have at 5 stars, just with their normal variant. Now, all the builds you're going to see in a moment have the plus on them. I do recommend doing that for the units that you really, really like and love, but outside of that, I just want to make sure that they can have something that hits worthwhile at 4-star. Also, on top of that, the units that I usually consider doing this with tend to have, and I hate to say it like this, but it's the only way I could wordsmith it, have an obviously superior variant thereof of that unit. That way, if you want to go ahead and still have that same build, but bring it into a 5-star territory, then you have that option. But with these particular units, they pack a lot of punch. They tend to have a little bit of a different niche. Some of them are older units, so that there's some weirdness with them. But outside of that, they're still super potent. I highly recommend doing this, even with really old units. And lastly, I'd like to recommend units that don't have a lot of SI value, because I'm going to have a hard time convincing anyone, including myself, to get rid of units and to merge if they have such good skill potential to give to other people. I would much rather just give it to my favorite unit than to build up one of these. Lastly, I do want to note that these units are going to be really potent on offensive PvP teams, but they're gonna shine in PvE content. Tempest Trials, Chain Challenges, Grand Hero and Bound Hero battles, the like of that. That's where these guys are gonna be amazing. You can take them into Arena. First of all, on defensive teams, they tend to have weaknesses that are too easily to exploit, and that's one of the reasons why I've chosen them, is because you can build around them and make them up and do some things that are incredible, but they're going to have some obvious weaknesses, so sometimes they're just not good to have on a defensive team. Outside of that, what you can do is you can put them on the offensive team, building them most of the ways that if you want to put them into Arena for real, you're going to actually get more points off of them than the Asker Trio. As a matter of fact, if you take all 4 of the ones I'm suggesting, you're going to get around 3,500 points in Arena on offense, assuming one of them is a bonus unit, of course. And that's going to be enough to have you jump between tier 19 and 20 back and forth. It won't keep you in tier 20, but you'll definitely advance every week after that. And so if that sounds like something that you want to do, building this set out is wonderful. Even if you only use 1 or 2 to sub in with all the other neat units you have, I highly recommend it. I'm not highlighting any armors in this list. If you want to see what I would do with the 3 and 4-star armors, go ahead and check out the card that's up here. And see what I would do with those. I've already talked about them at length. They're basically a conversation on their own, which is why they're a video of their own. Also, whenever I talk about these builds, I'm going to highlight several on the first one, only one on the rest. This isn't like the only build that is good for them. There's a lot of things you could do with them, but if you're just sitting here trying to say, like, well, prove to me the value of them, the kits I'm going to show to you have not that big of an investment and are super powerful. That's enough of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the first unit, Ogma. A lot of people have already discovered this powerhouse a long time ago. He hits hard, but he has a terrible resistance. So that sort of speaks to what I've been talking about. Very easy to counter in arena, especially if you give them in the hands of the AI. He's gonna walk up there to kill something all happy as could be, you know, with that big smile he's got, and then just die to a mage, which is really, really sad. But honestly, he has a decent attack and speed, which is a good combo to have. It's easy to point to other reds that are stronger and most especially faster, but when it comes down to it, he has a lot going for him. He wields that Brave Sword very well. Let's take a look at a few builds that you could go ahead and give this 4-star plus 10 monster. And one of those builds, there's definitely, this isn't exclusive to him, but he fits the mold really well to be able to have reciprocal aid and then use escape route. Now what the deal is with this is that he could go ahead and walk around the battlefield and sort of just be a generic red unit if you want him to be, but sometimes you, especially in PvP, you might have an instance where you need somebody to pull double duty, but they're going to use up all their hit points just on one. Like if you have like a counter that's supposed to take care of Grima and Hector, but they're both on the team. Great, what do you do with that? Well, of course, in this case, you could just throw Ogma into it. Or you do is use that unit to block one of the two, and then you can have Ogma come by and reciprocal aid your other hero, and then they could just go right into it. This works out really well, especially with like ranged casters and stuff like that, and this puts Ogma in territory for escape route, where he then starts to hop around to all your other heroes, and his double tap is impressive. It's gonna destroy things. He has more than enough to carry through. So this is one build that I greatly recommend. Like I said, other units can handle this. He fits it great. Another setup that you've seen before that Ogma handles super well is the Brass Desperation combo. Now going with this particular combo, you might be tempted to use something like Fury in the A slot. First of all, don't do that. You need the extra points that Deathblow are going to give you, and you want to make sure that you're just not generically shedding off hit points. He has a lot of hit points. He has a decent attack score, or a defensive score, but you're not going to have a problem getting him to 50%. Not even a little, not even at all. So if you do this with him, he's going to run out there, and once he gets in that desperation range with a Brash Assault, he's sweeping so much that's out there. It is ridiculous. You could fiddle around with different bits on him, but honestly, this is the best balance of everything over here, guys. So go ahead and run this. If you don't have a Brash Desperation unit yet, what are you waiting for? Get to it. He's great. This last build, though, is something that's a little more serious, and you might be like, well, that looks like a lot of resources to waste. It's wonderful on him. This turns him into a very serious threat in arena. You could put him in your arena team with this, and you could expect him to pretty much take on everything that is not a distant counter-related threat. He's providing for his teammates. He's ensuring that he's going to be surviving once he pings everybody, because sometimes he just needs a little bit of help, especially when he's out in the middle of the open. Chill speed is there because it is great to be able to lower the opponent's speed. That's going to keep him alive. That's going to ensure that he might be able to get a couple extra quads here and there. Overall, this is a super potent build. All three of them are. And if you have not seen a 4-star plus 10 unit, if you haven't tried one of the other two trick builds yet, this is the best place to start. Now, we're going to go ahead and advance into some other things here. Let's take a look at Oscar. Yes, Oscar. He is definitely my pick for the unit that you want to make a 4-star plus 10 of. Here's the funny thing, though, is that honestly, he has a great base. He makes a fantastic fire sweep unit. He makes a fantastic brave weapon unit. But whenever I see him there, he's been in the 4-star pool for so long, making a +10 merge out of him is just wonderful, because there are other units that you'd probably bring as a 5-star, thinking of Reinhardt or something like that. So if you do this with your Oscar, you could go and keep the Slaying Lance, but I mean his Sapphire Lance, but what I recommend is, and I started to hint at this already, turn him into a specialist. If you think about your arena assault runs or some other arena runs, you're probably having problems with horsies or armor. Maybe dragons, but you know what? Half the time the dragon ends up being Grima, so you know it's armor. And so what you could do is you could go ahead and specialize with him. Now I showed this with the Slaying Spear. If you go ahead and go with Rider's Bane, really same difference. It's wonderful. If you kit him out this way, then yeah, he's going to take out all the blue, all the red, and you just don't have to worry about it. He has enough bulk, enough speed, enough everything else that he could go ahead and hold off other red units at bay. Decent enough hit points and defense that way. Special limited time holiday units have a higher defensive rating than Oscar, but as far as something summonable, Oscar really is the best. You could just go to the portal and summon. So doing something with him, if not 5-starring him, making him a 4-star +10 merged unit that is going to specialize and kill something that you just are having a heck of a time dealing with, it's a no-brainer. I highly recommend this. When it comes to greens, there's a lot of good candidates here, and I technically wanted to recommend to you Barst, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say Bartra, and I'm not doing it for the memes. Barst is actually has slightly nicer matchups as far as I'm concerned for my preferences, for the kit that I'm going to show you here, but when it comes down to it, he has reposition, and so a lot of people like to fodder him for that. Bartra, on the other hand, he doesn't have anything that people like to throw away for, so here it is. He's tanky. He is so great. That mustache of his just blocks all the blows, and of course he gives you combat lessons. So I mean, hey, why don't you want him on your team? This particular build here just shows how nice he could be as a check for armor, but you know, you can go ahead and give him a Brave Axe as well, and then he can go initiating on things and just wreck all kinds of things. If you're having problems with blue and green armor of pretty much any variety, give this a look. 4-star +10ing him. He could fit other things that are a little bit more costly, like he could do infantry pulse rather well, and there's a few other things, but you don't need to spend a lot of resources on your 4-star +10s to make them super viable in PvE and in arena assault. If you want to take them into arena proper, you're probably going to end up dropping a little bit of extra love into these guys, simply because you want to be able to get those arena points, and there's lots of builds for that. But this is it. I mean, instead of sending him home and being aggravated that you're pulling him, merge him. He's wonderful. Lastly, I want to talk about Gordon, because he already comes with a Brave Bow. It's a great weapon to have. Upgrading a Brave Bow to a Brave Bow Plus is never a bad decision, but if you +10 merge him, wow, he just returns so well, because he can take a hit and he could deal out a lot of damage. With that combo right there, it's very easy to go ahead and build him up. This is just one way to build him. It's not even that inspired, but it's good. It'll get him on the field and it'll help him destroy things for you. And he takes a hit. That is super important. There's so many times where you want to have somebody go out like this that is going to be able to take care of a big threat for you, and you need them to be able to sort of stand on their own. He could do that. Not many other archers can, really. There is only one more archer who is within the 3-star range, but I would recommend promoting him to 5-star. Gordon, you don't need to do that with. You don't need him to be a 5-star high merged like that. You just need him to be 4-star +10 merged, and he's going to deliver so well for you. If you don't have a Brave Bow Archer, period, this is definitely a high recommendation, simply because he could take a hit. What 4-star +10s do you have? Let me know down in the comments. Have I convinced you to build one of these 4? Also, let me know. I'd like to know that for sure. And do me a favor, if you like your Fire Emblem information not fresh like Grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, take it easy.